Hey everybody, it's the Commodore from the Clan of the Grey Wolf, and you are watching the weekly Wringer series here on clanofthegraywolf.com. Now, I've got a lot of material to cover today. You guys all saw this coming, and for those of you that are new to the weekly Wringer, this is probably going to be one video that is on the longer side, because last week I asked about a topic that I was not surprised to see many comments on. A lot of thoughts and a lot of positions and a lot of different angles to take this question from last week around girl gaming, and I'm as you can tell, I'm really excited. I'm ready to talk about it. I was really glad to ask the question, and there's a lot to say. You guys had a ton to say. I have a lot to say. So if you're a fan of the really short, quick, easy weekly Wringers, you might want to just skip this one. In any case, it's great to have the kind of conversation that we had this week. There were so many wonderful thoughts that got put into the pile, and I want to really, although I really want to just jump in and say, here's what everybody said, rather than just going through all the comments section again for all of you, I just tried to pick out a lot of ideas that I thought worked things out really well, or got to some interesting little questions that we should ask, and then try to answer. And so we will. So there's going to be a lot to do today. I know I say that for most videos, but this one is there's a lot to unpack and a lot to talk about, and I'm really looking forward to it. We're also going to welcome our new members. I'll probably do that right off the bat, as I always do, and I will have to give you my own 2 cents on all of the girl gaming phenomenon, as well as last asking you guys a question for next week that I think will probably invite open disdain from the entirety of the community. We will have to find out to see. But anyway, so let me just start out. Let's get right into it, get down to business. By the way, definitely keeping some fresh liquids right with easy access to me right now, because my voice is definitely not in the greatest of shape, let's just say. The Super Bowl, being a Giants fan, the Super Bowl definitely did take away from my voice, so I apologize for that. You'll have to just bear with me as my voice kind of recovers from yesterday. Alright, now, new members. We've got to talk about new members. It's great to see new people. We had a lot of them this week. It's great to have you on board, and I hope to see many more comments from all of you as the Weekly Wringer goes on over the next weeks, months, and hopefully years. New to the conversation this week, Helter Skelter. Welcome to you. I thought some great comments as well. All of you guys had great comments. You could say that about all of our new folks as well. Just great comments from everyone. Mr. Top Hat, welcome to you as well. Guru88. Awesome name. I like that. Guru88. Just kind of rolls right off the tongue. Welcome to you as well. And SMRPG Fan 101. Welcome to you as well. Welcome to all of our new folks. That is great to see all of you on the Weekly Wringer commenting. I hope that you all kind of find the impetus to respond to questions that I ask, in the future as well. If you were watching from the sidelines and you saw a question that I asked that got you in the conversation, I hope I can get a couple more questions for you in the near future that'll keep you in the conversation. Not that I don't love bystanders and folks that watch from the sidelines. That certainly doesn't hurt our video counts and keep the show going as well. But comments are always the way that the show moves forward. All right. So let's do it. Let's jump right in. As you will recall, last week I asked you a question that focused on something that I think has a tendency to get blasted out of proportion, or maybe not. I'm not sure. In our gaming culture, and that tends to be how women are handled, but I put it in quotations as the girl gamer phenomenon. I tried to leave that a little bit more vague so that we got some appropriate responses from all over the place, and I think I did that pretty well, or with a certain specificity, trying to lead you guys down a path, and you really took it for the most part. Everybody really brought in a lot of great comments and thoughts, and I'll try to highlight as many of those as I possibly can. When I asked this question, I really was asking about how we think now that we're here in the year 2012. It's different than the year 1988. I can't tell you exactly why, nor could I tell you why I arbitrarily just chose 1988 at the top of my head. Anyway, the point is, the gaming culture is different today. It's different in a lot of ways, right? First of all, there are a lot more people gaming right off the bat, but there are a lot more women and girls, if you want to make a distinction. And I do intend to do that, as there are boys and men playing video games. There are a lot more boys and men playing video games now than there ever have been before. The question is now, how has that changed the face, I think, of gaming culture with girl gamers, quote unquote? That's why I put it in quotes, because I don't like the terminology. I like women that play video games just as much as I like the idea of girls that play video games as boys and men that play video games. Because as I think most of you said and agreed with, that games are just fun. That's why we enjoy it. It's like movies. Movies are great. That's why people like them. So why can't games be the same way? These kinds of questions are the type that people base entire graduate school and intellectual careers on. These are very deep-seated questions that have to do with our culture. They are, as many of you pointed out, it is really impossible, I think, to eliminate cultural questions from this kind of a question as well. I'm not going to try to do that. I'm not even going to try to answer the question in any kind of legitimate way, other than to tell you that I will give you my own thoughts and summary of what you guys have here. But inevitably, I could talk for hours about this. I wrote about this very same issue for my master's thesis, and it was indeed something that kind of took over my life for the better part of about a year and a half, where I studied this phenomenon and really did everything I could to think and write about it. So obviously I am someone that is at least a little bit of an authority on the concept. I am interested in continuing that conversation. However, to keep things brief and to keep things moving, I want to focus mostly on your thoughts today, rather than just kind of rambling about what things I would like to talk about in this conversation, which is exactly what the Weekly Wringer should be about. So with that in mind, let's jump right into DTX 180. I thought there were a couple of insightful thoughts from DTX 180. First of all, the industry is composed mostly of men and always has been historically. Really, regardless of where you look at video games as a phenomenon, whether you're looking at the very early days in the 70s of Japanese machines that kind of get picked up by American gamers American entrepreneurs looking to capitalize on that phenomenon, or you're looking at today, where there are literally thousands of game developers in the world, and by that I mean game developer companies. There are probably millions of game developers, but there are thousands of game developer companies out there today. And let's just face it, guys, it is a male-dominated profession. The ratio of people that play games are not represented, I would say, in the macro level of the people that make these games. So why do I say this, and why do I think DTX has a good point here? I'm not necessarily saying that we need to have equal numbers of men and women that make video games in order for them to be fun and exciting, or even good, or even cracking some of the stereotypical phenomena we see out there today. I'm not making that argument. I think there are reasons why people flock to certain kinds of things. And while those things might seem to be arbitrary on their face, or even with deeper analysis might seem to be plainly arbitrary, I think that it's really just about kind of people's personalities. And people's personalities tend to gravitate towards certain things. Those things might not have anything to do with gender or sex roles, to be honest. They might have something much more to do with our upbringings or our particular kinds of senses of humor, what have you. But the fact of the matter is, there are elements of that are from nature, or those things that we exhibit that are from more of our environment, or the product of our environment. But in any case, the fact that men dominate video gaming has made a significant contribution, I think, to its development. And we can't deny that fact. So whether or not you're a person that gravitates toward the particular culture developed by a male-dominated industry, or you happen to be a person that is offended and put off by it and running away from it, I think it's impossible to ignore the fact that gaming in 2012 is as male-dominated in terms of the production as it's ever been. Although I can't really say that it's as it's ever been, because there are plenty of women that develop gaming. And we're not just talking about, going through the annals of history and finding the Roberta Williams, for example, the diamond in the rough, the people the women that created video games a long time ago and were kind of the harbingers of this era of gaming for women. I think that it's important to note that there is still male dominated, and that is significant. I think that definitely lends itself toward propagating more men as gamers. If it's a male-dominated industry in terms of the creation of games, I think it's only natural that we see that more men play games, because I think they're going to be speaking more toward male, what we would call speech communities, or the idea that men generally take certain kinds of conversation types, interests, shared cultural phenomena that get imbued into video games that we play. And you could see this with any particular type of media out there, and you do with many different kinds of media. So anyway, that's an interesting thing to put out. Let's also talk about, DTX 180 talks about the casual game explosion and how that probably has changed the demographic. So first of all, it's pretty easy to see that casual games have really taken over a very large segment of video gaming with the proliferation of smartphones, so on and so forth, and what have you. I'm not sure if it's necessarily following right along the lines of that you can draw a direct correlation between the fact that casual games have taken off and the fact that more women play games. Okay, I mean, I don't know that necessarily relates in any particular way, except to say this. If I look through all of the folks that I know that play casual games, that now not play games casually, but play casual games mostly, I would say, through my own perceptions, that women happen to dominate that space for the people that I know. So from my own experience, that seems to be the way that things are. I haven't seen the demographics. I don't know how those numbers really enact itself. But I can tell you this. Some of the things that you guys talked about in terms of the we, and I pointed toward this at the end of my thesis, believe it or not, but the idea of the we, the idea of a game console that has games that have different goal structures, different ways of enacting activity, and different, more creative kinds of ways of expressing oneself, I thought would cater more toward female communities, and I think it has. So I think casual games tend to have different goal structures than, say, most of our FPSs, or RPGs even, or all these other things that tend to be in more male-dominated spaces. There could be something there to it. I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. It generally is correlating between casual games and more women playing. But in my own experience, I have to say, the shoe does fit. Lucky talked about the good and the bad, and I thought this was a really great comment. I read all the comments. I thought they were all really good, but there were some that I just kind of like, I just read them and I thought, man, that's a really interesting point. So, in terms of the good, the example of, in Lucky's case, his wife, who happens to have picked up gaming since he himself was a gamer. Now, this is an interesting phenomenon because we get to, sometimes we lose perspective, right? If you do something in exclusivity and remote and removed from everyone that you know, you kind of have your own perception of it, and then you go back to the communities that you're familiar with and you know and you love, and you hear things that put maybe your perceptions into a completely different category or a different way of seeing things. I think that's what Lucky has highlighted here. A gamer, and we've all been there, right? All of us. Gamer, you go through the motions, you're playing games, you're dedicating a lot of time to it, and you don't think twice about it. And then all of a sudden, someone that you know or care about picks up a game, they start